Welcome back to my whiskey pick of the week. You know I'm here, the whiskey guy, and as always, as usual, and as expected, I have a treat for you today. I am super excited. I came across one of my personal sought after bottles to have in my collection. It's the Sazerac Rye. I've heard so much things about it, the history, the heritage, the everything about it. It's the godfather of whiskey, and I'm excited to get my hands on it, to give you my thoughts about it. And we just gonna jump right into it. Sazerac, as you know, is kind of like I said before in other videos. I believe I did probably about 3 or 4 of the Sazerac brands already, but this is the Nike. This is the Nike of bourbon, the Nike of whiskey. Is right here in our presence, the Sazerac Rye. And just like Nike's, how they branch off so much that when you think of Jordans, you don't even think of Nike. You just think of Jordans, and they got LeBrons, they got the KDs, and this is Sazerac Rye. And we gonna see how this is. I'm excited. This company right here goes all the way back to, this bottle goes back to the 1600s, like around 1630. So literally almost 400 years ago, the Sazerac family brand was making cognac and brandy in France. And to go back to actually, that's very impressive, that you can actually date their timeline all the way back to 400 years. And I know a little bit about history, and I know a lot of things that done happened in Europe and in France, and within the time frame that I know, Sazerac was around. When Napoleon was fighting, they was sipping on Sazerac. When they painted the Mona Lisa, they were pouring up Sazerac cognac and admiring the artwork. You had that's at the end of the medieval times they was drinking Sazerac. So this company goes back further than any other company that I know. So I kind of feel like they are like just the name itself, because it's a family name. It's like Walmart. Like Walmart's still gonna be around in 100 years, and if they making billions now, just imagine how much they're gonna be making in the future. So this is our friend's version of the Walmart's family, the Walls or whatever. You got some big heavy hitters, kind of like the Fords, the Kennedys, the Rockefellers. This is what they all looked up to. The entrepreneurship in the Sazerac family, and even some of the brandies and the cognacs that we known since we were little, that been around. We thought they was around for a long time. Remy Martin, 1738. They was sipping on Sazerac cognac before they made theirs. Hennessy, his first cognac was probably Sazerac. Now Sazerac, they moved to America, and like a lot of French people do. The French, they go 2 places when they leave France. They move either to Canada or they move to New Orleans. So in this case, the Sazerac company moved to New Orleans, and it was probably the best decision that they could make, because not only did you already have a 85% population of France that was already familiar with your name and your brand, you go in there and set up shop. You the best thing since sliced bread, literally, because it's probably around the same time they were making bread. So this company has a rich history. Now with this rye, because this is the Sazerac Rye, my expectations aren't so high. It's not too high. It's just they pretty much focus on mixed drinks. So the standard, I'm not gonna really put this at a high standard as far as like just the pure whiskey taste, because they want you to add bitters. When Sazerac, when the company moved to New Orleans, they hooked up with the guy that make all the bitters, the orange bitters, and all those type of flavors to add to them, and they actually made this the first whiskey cocktail, the Sazerac cocktail. So it's kind of like if you in the selling tea business and you sell sugar, chances are you gonna sell unsweet tea because you want people to buy your sugar. So I'm thinking back then they probably didn't really care about the quality of the whiskey or how it tastes, as long as you bought the accessories like the bitters, and I love mixed drinks and all that to throw in it. They got the Sazerac cocktail. It kind of, and I'll probably make one throughout the week, but it's kind of like an old fashioned mixed with a Manhattan. You shake it. It's really, high class type drink. So let's see how the Sazerac is. Smells good. Now normally I get the 5th. I got the handle, the 1.75, because it was the only one that they had. And this was probably my first experience of what I call fear of loss. My wife, she called it FOMO, fear of missing out. I went to the store and I was just kind of looking around, and the guy was asking me looking for anything in particular, and this was months ago. And I was like, no, I'm just looking, and I kind of seen they didn't have like any of my normal allocated type bourbons, and he was like, asked me kind of questions, and the way I was answering them, I guess he kind of figured out, okay, this guy is kind of like a bourbon guy. So he was like, oh, I just remember we got Sazerac. Only one bottle came in, blah blah blah. And I was like, I really don't want the handle. But then I thought about it. I was like, well, I may not get my hands on it again, and the handle is just 2/5, so it's like I'm buying 2 bottles. So I went on ahead and got it, and then, as always, about 2 weeks later, I seen the Sazerac Rye pretty much on every shelf as a 5th, a little pocket bottles. So I kind of just put this on ice because I felt like, let me let the rush go, because I'm sure everybody gonna be jumping on them. So now I think it's a perfect time to give it a try. It has your normal whiskey, that rye. It got the rye tint to it. It got the rye smell to it. It smells like some gas, and it's actually better than I thought it was gonna be. I would say that it's better than your like your Evan Williams. It's a step down. I say it's probably like 2 levels down from like your Buffalo Traces and your Four Roses and all those. It's probably like 2 tiers down from that. But it's perfect for like mixed drinks. If you like to put a little ginger ale in your cup, if you like to make old fashions, if you like to add a couple dashes of bitters in it, it would be perfect. I still don't understand how a guy that was in the cognac business getting into the whiskeys would be so involved with bitters, because it's kind of like you're presenting your product and somebody said, to make it better, if you add this, and then you taste it, you're like, oh okay, well, this is not even the drink that I expected. So I thought that was kind of intriguing. But on the business side, why not have your hands in different products, especially when it comes to accessories? Like if Nike could sell the shoelaces separately, they definitely would, because that would be more money in their pocket. And Sazerac, they found a way to do it, and then they just kind of monopolized the industry at one point. They literally are like the New York Yankees. If you're talented, they're gonna find a way to get you on their team. And like I'm wearing this shirt today, No Limit from New Orleans. It's pretty much the same thing. You're gonna have your heavy hitters under the brand, like your Mysticals and your Sea Murders, Mag. You're gonna have those, but you're also gonna have your bottom shelf. You're gonna have your Silk the Shocker on the squad, and that'll be like your Kentucky Gentleman, which is one of my favorite go-to bourbons. I've been doing that since day one. So they got the horsepower, the firepower to stand up to any bourbon company out there, which is probably gonna make them the best of the best. So I highly recommend, if you see it, grab it. If you want to just hold on to it and just have your own little Sazerac collection, at one point you will not be disappointed. You're gonna see that you're gonna have probably one of the best collections ever if you can just collect them, because once you get to one point, you're gonna be getting all pretty much what they call your unicorns, the ones that you can't find, those rare bottles. You're gonna have that under your belt, and this is a perfect way to start off, because and again, like Nike is like, you gotta try this one before you can pretty much level up. Like if I'm always wearing Nike Air Force Ones, but I'm always talking about Jordans, that don't really max up. I might as well just talk about my Air Force Ones that I got on, then talking about how good the Jordans are. So it's that same type of concept, but I do recommend the Sazerac Rye. It's a good bang for your buck. I think this one's a little high. This is a little steep for this one. I think this was like a $60 bottle, but when you break it down, it's like paying $30 for the fifth, which is pretty much average. It's in that range that I like to spend anyway. So if you see the Sazerac Rye, get your hands on it. You will not be disappointed. Man, this is Eric the Whiskey Guy. We're gonna do it all again next week.